Hey guys, Lake Ouachita, as I just mentioned, here we are. We're in the middle part of the lake now with that thermocline. As you see, we have deep water, and that thermocline here could be anywhere from that 30, 35 foot, 20 foot. But what makes this area, of course, kind of popular and just kind of an easy area. Now, I say it popular, easy, but it's not, because this is a big area, guys, and this is all high. So let's say that thermocline's in 30 foot, 30, 35. Look, the fish can just be positioned up here. And you got grass, as I mentioned. Also, brush piles that are man-made. And so, what we have here, let's say that thermocline's gone. It's the fall now, guys, okay? You do have grass, which the fish will use as cover, okay? And you got fish that just live in grass year-round. But now you also have fish that are chasing bait. And there's a lot of water right here for them to chase bait. So before with the thermocline, they're kind of stuck up here, right? They're hanging out up here. They're not going in that thermocline because of the oxygen levels. And it's just they don't like living in it. It's gone. Guys, those fish can be out here where my cursor's at. I should probably make my cursor bigger for this. They can be out here. Guys, they're out here chasing bait. They're schooling on bait fish. That's one thing about the fall. People love to chase schooling fish. And, your spotted bass are going to be out here. There's some smallmouth in this lake and some mix of smallmouth spots, And then largemouth chase schoolers as well. And, guys, white stripers can be out here, So this area, like I said, there's a lot, okay? And one thing that I know people, now with forward-facing sonar, it makes it easier. But some people will come out here and try to find these schoolers and throw your topwater baits and chase schooling fish. They're fun to catch, guys. This is not what I want to do, okay? I don't want to go chase schooling fish. I'd rather go fish targets, fish structure. Now, if they're schooling in the back of a creek, like I mentioned earlier, 100%. That's great. I want to catch them like that. But this bigger open water, I'd rather not do. But some people are great at it, and I mean great before, live scope, before electronics. People did it on this lake, okay? So let's just look at this area. You have these drains, which, of course, fish uses as highways, okay? There's going to be grass on here. So that's just one thing the fish, fish can come in here, hang out in the grass. Here comes the bait fish. They come out and eat. Or, like I mentioned earlier, there's just some fish just swimming around out here chasing bait. And then they're wanting to eat when they're wanting to eat. So you have a lot right here, guys. And I've not checked the water levels lately for the lake. But let's just say this grass can start getting matted as well. Then bait fish will get pushed up here in the grass as the water temperatures drop, and you can go throw a topwater like a frog, horny toad, fluke, your kind of style, the popping perch. So there's those options as well. And guys, I know I've been talking about bait, but there still could be, fish can be eating crawfish. Fish can be, the brim. There's a good brim population in this lake. But just looking at this big area, okay? Looking at the big area, try to find the irregularities, okay? But mainly what I would do is use my eyes to see if there's any schooling presence. If you like to fish the middle of the lake, look for that schooling presence with your eyes, or you're going to need to use your electronics to find the bait fish and then fish. And I mean bait electronics, 2D down, 2D sonar, down imaging. I'm not just saying forward-facing sonar. If you have it, then you can. Okay, so that would just be what I would try to do. And I try to look for little ambush points, areas where fish can push them up and try to have the fish against something, okay? So, once again, a lot of cover here. This is a way people do like to go fish and target. Just probably not going to be what I want to do. But if you like to go chase schooling fish, look for these areas like this to where there is some high spots and then deep water nearby. But understand, guys, them fish can be out here all of a sudden 60, 70 feet, or they can be up here. So that what makes it this tough of the year hard is just finding out where they're at, because there's so many places in depth range they can be. Now, I'm going to get a smaller lake for you guys. So let me go ahead, get a smaller lake for you, and let's go break it down. Okay, guys, now I'm going to pick a smaller lowland reservoir, which this also can be compared to a smaller highland reservoir. Like, for example, I have some flood control highland reservoir lakes that are near me, and I'm going to try to do some teaching off of those. And I have some lowland reservoirs down here in South Arkansas that I'm going to relate all this to. So this is in Missouri, northern Missouri. Now, if you're watching from northern Missouri, and there's anything I say that might not relate to this lake, I'm sorry. I'm doing this for teaching. I would think this relates though, okay? But I know the weather and stuff is different. So I'm just teaching here. Okay, so this is a smaller lake. All right, I don't know how big it is. I guess I should have looked real quick. Let's see. Mozingo Lake, Missouri size. Okay, so let's just see. 1,000 acres. Perfect. Okay, perfect. That's what I want. I want a small lake, okay? These lakes, guys, depending now how the weather's been, okay? But even here in Arkansas, at my one lake, water temperature is 95 degrees. Then I go on a little trip, come back, and the water's 80 degrees. And that's because of a couple cool nights, some rain. These small lakes happen fast, guys. Fast. Okay? So, for example, the lake I'm talking about, I'm going to go ahead and get a little Google Earth action here. For example, the one lake, 95 degree water temperature. I've been fishing down near the dam. Thermocline set up, and I don't know the depth of this lake, okay, but say it's 50 foot. I guess I can look right here at this. It doesn't show it. All right, so the lake I've been fishing, it was about 50 foot, okay, 40, 50 foot, great, good. So thermocline set up, 20, 25, fish are above it. They're easy to follow. They're either chasing bait, suspended, or they're relating around brush piles. Guys they're kind of easy to target, and the water's hot, so they got to eat. Now that water's 80, and the lake's starting to turn over, the rain, stuff's happening, thermocline's gone, fish are everywhere. There's fish super deep, they're not eating. There are fish around brush piles still, not eating though. There's just a lot happening that messes the fish up. But then there were some fish that have moved shallow. I mean, they have moved up here shallow on points. There's bait fish that is up there shallow, and they're eating, okay? And I say eating, but there at times there's so much bait fish up there that you have to trick the bait fish into, or you have to trick the bass into biting your lure over the bait fish. Now, one thing interesting about this lake, it looks like there's some brush and stuff right here. I like it. So, and then on one fishing trip I had, struggled, couldn't get them to bite. We were seeing them, and I've been trying to fish off. I've been fishing offshore there, whacking them, and it's one of the lakes I got on. And then, I didn't go shallow because I was just hard-headed. And then all of a sudden, here we go. I find out they're eating shallow. But then I go to another lake, another kind of lake similar in size, and we found some fish offshore, and we triggered them into eating with crankbaits, okay? But there were fish up shallow eating, okay? But the ones offshore were just around cover, and luckily we got them to eat with a crankbait. But like I said, there was no thermocline there. They're pretty deep for that lake. That one lake that we caught them at really good, guys. Max depth's 25, 30 foot, and catching them in 20, okay? It's just crazy. So anyway, guys, so like here, depending on your area of the lake, what the fish are going to do. And also, different stuff happens on different parts of the lake, okay? It looks like this lake has some grass. Stuff might happen faster up here than down here. So for these smaller lakes, like I said, it happens so fast, and then it goes into finding the area where it's all happening at, okay? So, for example, right now in these smaller lakes, one thing I would try to do, and this is just me thinking, you pick one end of the lake or the other. So let's say this end of the lake. Man, this end of the lake, it's simply your upper end's going to be shallower, probably more cover, more of a river section. Man, them fish could be already working into the back of the creeks. Now, looking at this lake right here, we got some nice wood right here. Man, them fish can be using that, of course, as we get into this creek. But let's go to the navionics. So these fish, I would try, once again, and like that right there, you can't even idle one. So I'm putting my trolling motor down and probably fishing, okay? Now, this is a lake where I would be looking at to throw bladed jigs at. I've talked about before. Buzzbait looks like this would be a great buzzbait lake. You can have a square bill, but for my lures, and I'm going to talk about lures in a minute, buzzbait, swim bait, crankbait for my deeper fish, guys, and you still can have your Texas rigs and jigs, but just try to keep it more simple with your baits, okay? So up on this river end, man, spinnerbait. I know I just said bladed jig, spinnerbait, but now there still can be schooling action, okay? Still can be schooling action, but I love looking for fish in the back of creeks, cause and guys, at times I know I've did a virtual lesson too lately, and I've told them. And this is kind of how it is. It's a gamble, because if you do not know the lake well, you don't know which creeks they kind of get in, and around the time, you might waste some time. But I'm telling you, when you find them in the back, they are there. But work your way back. Let's go back. This Google Earth image is just better. So now this one has grass. This lake's pretty unique because you got grass and then wood over here. So then it's kind of finding out, are they in the grass or in the wood? But Back here, guys, you're not going to be using much electronics if you're more of a shallow water guy. But if you like electronics, you want to chase more of them schooling fish, you're going to be on your lower end of the lake, okay? Now, I'm not saying they can still be shallow up here, because they can. This lake doesn't have any rock. Some of the lakes I fish have a lot of rock, and they'll get on it. There's your nice little riprap bank. I'm saying some fish get caught on it and probably get caught back up in this guy right here, okay? Now, guys, but one little thing when you're looking, like this lake has some brush, and it looks like it's at level pool. But if you have a lake that's getting lower, okay, because the water levels or the rain, look for them brush piles around the channel, okay? Them fish can use that cover, and they're just waiting for bait fish to come by, okay? Guys, let's see what else I'd like to share. I think that might be about it. Hopefully this helped you guys. I'm about to talk about baits, tackle, so stay with me and leave me a comment on any other additional content you would like to see on this channel. Hey guys, just talk about a couple of lures. Just, man, this time of year, you know, as I might have said earlier, keep it simple, okay? I mean, you can have 20, 30 rods on the deck, you know, if you have them rods, but man, I'm gonna try to keep it simple myself. Top water, that depth, that middle range, and then that deep range. So for that top water, guys, you know, walking bait's okay, but man, I prefer a buzz bait, okay? Now, it just depends on the lake and the water clarity. I know there's a couple to it, but man, a buzz bait is fun way to catch them. And there's just a bunch of different stuff you can do with the action. I like to move, and sometimes with them walking baits, it's just you got to kind of work them a little bit, and I just prefer a buzz bait, actually. So this is just this is actually a little custom buzz bait from a company, a guy down in Sherwood, a company. I mean, it is his company. It's a Brazalo buzz bait, but it's called the Bushwhacker. I'm not a big buzzbait, guys, as people that know me, but man, I got some of these recently, and I'm kind of upset that I've missed out on these, okay? So I'm hopefully gonna get some fish catches for you on these here soon. I've thrown them recently in a couple trips. Now, another lure, okay, for that middle depth range, all right? And I've talked about a little bit. I'm in my living room here, and I shouldn't be standing. I kind of don't have nowhere to put these rods, but my middle depth range, okay, there's a couple things you can do. Swim bait's going to be one of them. I'm going to have my swim bait paired up either on a weedless hook with a little spinner, you know, the little tail spinner on there, or I'm going to go with the tush hook, depending on my cover. If it's open water, clear, I'm going to go with the tush hook. If it's that, you know, if I fish around timber, brush, I'm going to go with the weedless. But then I'm also going to do it on a Tokyo rig. I've talked about the Tokyo rig. I might not always just have the swim bait on here. It could be a crawl style as well. But man, I'm right now, like this right here is great around rock points. You can still fish this in brush as well. Just gives it a different look that I think people do not do. And that's part of my reason why. It keeps it right there off the bottom. Once again, you're kind of looking for that like middle depth, that buzz bait's up here. Now, I'm not going to fish this super deep. I'm talking like, you know, like in that 3 to like 8 foot range, okay? So I'll have my swim bait that's going to be in the suspended column, and then right there in that bottom column, but it's still just right there, it's off the bottom, okay? And so now, and you know, and if you like jigs, you can throw jigs, okay? I'll probably have a jig on, but this is just kind of like my replacing a jig, just to do something different. And then as I also talked about, guys, which I love throwing, crankbaits, okay? I'm not going to throw, I mean, you can throw square bills, right? But I just, you know, I said I kind of have those for that kind of depth range. And so I'm over here like, throw square bills, guys. I'm just saying I might not have one on because I'm trying some different stuff out. But for my deeper fish, crankbait, okay? Crankbait, them fish out deep, as I mentioned, they're not really feeding. I mean, they can be feeding if there's bait around, but there's a lot of fish just hanging out there. And one way to get them to bite is with a reaction strike, like this crankbait right here, as I've mentioned. This is a 6-inch C20 8XD style plug, just so you guys know. Deeper plug, okay? You can go with them 6XDs as well, you know, the 6XD style, but I'm going to go 6 to 10X on my deep plug, okay? So with that, guys, that's kind of what I'm going to kind of think about. Now, my people that know me well, I am going to still be throwing a big spoon. I got it over there right now. I've not had luck with it in the past couple weeks, sadly. But I'm going to keep throwing it, testing it out, seeing if I can catch some big fish with it in these upcoming months, okay? Guys, hey, I appreciate you. Leave me some comments what you think about the areas, about the video style. Once again, right now, hopefully if you're watching this still, you're on the Fishing Coach channel, and I'm going to be doing a variety of style videos on this right now to get this thing going. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, and hey, I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next one.